Hi, welcome to today's Plumbers of Data Science episode. Today we are going to talk about how to get into data engineering, concrete examples, how to get into data engineering using my data engineering cookbook. Now I'm checking again if I am live or if I'm not live here on LinkedIn. Let me check because I want to have you here in my... Okay, this looks good. Looks good. Okay, I think this time it's working. Yeah, so many people are telling you that to get into data engineering or to get into data science, you need to do online courses, you need to do certifications. But today I want to show you on the example of my data engineering cookbook that you can get into this and get into this very, very easily. I have some questions already from a post previous before the stream, and if you have some questions during the stream, put them in the comments of the stream and then in the chat, and I'm going to answer them. So let's just get into this. Everything is going to be recorded. I'm putting it on my YouTube channel, Plumbers of Data Science. If you haven't seen this, check it out and subscribe to the channel. You can find all the complete archive. This is 117, I think. So yeah, have fun with it. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the cookbook. So when you are in the cookbook, the README is the first thing you're going to see. And the first thing that is that I want to show you, and everything basically hinges on this the topic of this course, this video, is my big data platform blueprint, or my data science platform blueprint. This all works after the blueprint, and I have ordered the data engineering cookbook after the blueprint. That means you first have a I've made it in phases or blocks. You have the connection phase, you have the buffer phase, you have the processing framework, you have storage with big data storage is NoSQL and SQL warehouses, visualizations, web UIs, BI tools, mobile apps. Processing is stream and batch processing. Buffers are like caches or message queues. And in the connect phase, you have APIs, you have data flow apps where you can easily build pipelines, and some external databases or external data warehouses that are already existing that you're going to implement into this. So this is where the data engineer is doing his work, and where he's building the pipelines of how to basically organize the flow of data within the network, within the platform. And now let's quickly go back to the cookbook. The cookbook is I have ordered it into first a introduction. I would start with the introduction if you want to get into data engineering. Then some basic skills, and where we are advanced engineering skills, a hands-on course that I'm working. That's going to be also on YouTube. Case studies, a lot of case studies with links, and some interview questions. It's not 1001, I'm 100, and recommended books and courses. So I'm building this over time, and it's developing. And the thing that we're going to look today is advanced engineering skills. Let me just quickly let's make a quick shot here. And the advanced data engineering skills. It's first of all, it's what is a data science platform? How does that look? What is in there with Lambda architecture and batch and stream processing, and yeah, all this stuff, a bit about Hadoop platforms, and then we're getting into the phases or the blocks here. The connect from the blueprint, that's connect with REST API information with tools like Apache NiFi. That would be a connection app, or yeah, a Logstash. Then you have the buffers with tools like Kafka and Apache Redis, AWS Kinesis, Google Cloud pops up, and then the processing of the whole thing, processing frameworks, the old MapReduce, then Apache Spark, AWS Lambda, Flink, Elasticsearch, Drill, Streamsets, storage, SQL databases, NoSQL databases, and then some visualization stuff. And then a bit about machine learning. The thing is, this is not completely filled here. This is I'm starting with this, and or I have started with this year, and I'm filling it continuously. And you can help fill this. You can go to the cookbook on GitHub and make an issue or or change it yourself and make a pull request. And we're going to put stuff in there. And the idea is here. When you let's quickly go back to the basic skills. Need to work on this. The introduction to the blueprint. The idea how to get into data engineering is you don't need to do courses and so on. Go in there into the advanced section and look at all these blocks: connect, store, processing framework, buffer, visualize. All these here. And what you do is, oh, no, this is not what I wanted to do. Why isn't it writing? Okay. You're taking something from the connect one. You're taking another tools from the store. You're taking a processing tool. You're looking into a buffering tool, and you look at a visualize tool. Just one of each. This can be, you can look at tools that are in AWS. Then you would look into Kinesis down here. You would look at Lambda functions here. Here you could look at S3 or something like DynamoDB. You could look at API gateways and so on. And then how to build API gateways and REST APIs. And you could look into some, you could also look here, Tableau, whatever. So pick some tools that you like. You could also go in here and say, okay, I like, how did I remove, how can I remove, okay, you don't do Lambda, you look at Elasticsearch here. Change Lambda to Elasticsearch. So you're looking at this and pick out some of the tools that you find in the cookbook and check them out, and then try to learn them, so that you're basically looking for a job in this direction. So that you're strategically, for instance, if you want to work, and if you have in mind jobs that are working with Google Cloud, then you would choose here a lot of tools in this whole thing. You would choose tools that are basically Google Cloud tools. Or if you're looking for jobs within AWS, because you have some experience with AWS, and then go deep into AWS and select tools that are in each of the sections for AWS or for other platforms like Azure and so on. And get into this and focus, and don't learn everything. And the cookbook, I'm trying to add more and more to the cookbook with links and so on, so that you get a feeling of what is in each of these stages. Because what people are doing is they're building pipelines. So they have an API. And what are you doing with the API? The API needs to send data somewhere. So it's going into a cache. And from this cache, you are taking, somebody is taking the data and he's processing it, for instance, with stream processing. And then the results are getting written into can be a SQL database. And then maybe they write a web UI or an app, or they just use a BI tool for that. And so this way, if you go through it this way, you can build up you can start building up pipelines and learning the tools that are in there. So in this case, you would learn how to build APIs. You would learn how to use a buffer, a cache, like Redis, an in-memory database. You would learn how to use a streaming tool. Could be Apache Storm or Flink. And then you learn how to use a SQL database and create a SQL database. After that, you need to somehow display it. You could use a BI tool or something else like a dashboard like Grafana here. Could be, you're completely free here. The idea is, from the cookbook, what I'm going to help you is find the tools that are in each of these blocks and learn to get into them. And I cannot teach you everything, and I cannot go and help you with every tool, but I can help pointing you in the right direction. And this is also what companies need for you. When they are looking at data engineers, they look at data engineers who can build pipelines like this, who understand certain tools they use in practice, and then build with this. And the best thing would be if you do a project. What you could do is you could take a file, a recorded, a pre-recorded file, something you download from the internet, create a Python script, and this script then writes into a API, and then you treat it as live data because it writes regularly a line from the file. And so you can build up some tools and help yourself figuring out how to learn all this and have fun with it. And Srivasan says, how can I get to work on some data engineering projects? This is it. This is the first step you can do. And it's all by yourself. You can work on this. You can do whatever you like. And when you select strategically the tools, you could also go for what is hip right now. Then you would select the hippest tools here, what everybody likes, and then go for it. Absolutely no problem. Can do here what you like. The idea is get into the tools. Don't learn everything. Focus, and these are the strategic areas where people are working. You always have to connect somewhere. If it's an external database, a SQL database, or whatever, you have something here. You most likely have some kind of a buffer, some kind of a message queue. You always have a processing framework where people are processing data with. And if this is something something with Docker and Python and maybe Kubernetes. Could be possible. And then you have a store, always a store, maybe a big data store, maybe a traditional data warehouse. Always have this. You always have a visualization. Always. And so you don't need more. This is how to get into this, and this is how to learn this. Mohit asks, hi, do you think that data engineering would ultimately merge into data science one day and individually of data engineering would be lost, or it would continue maintaining its identity? This is absolutely not the case. I'm going to make a chart of this. But the idea, data engineering is not different from data science. It's data engineering is a part of data science. Data engineer, there's the scientist part within data science, where the data scientists, you all know them, basically works, and the other part within data science is data engineering. There are some more parts like machine learning engineers and so on, but generally I would say there's the data science part, the part where people are especially working here in the processing. I talked about this in yesterday's stream, so if you want to check it out, and if you're on YouTube, I'm going to put a link here. Just need to hopefully find this again. It's here. Oh, the link is here. And yeah, so this is how this goes, and it's a part of data science. So you will never leave the data science realm or go this goes somewhere else. This is always just fumbling around here with the yeah. So let me just what I was talking about was here. The thing here with when you quickly again from yesterday, you always have the data scientist who is working with machine learning, who is doing training, who is putting this in production. But at some point you need to work with data and you need to get data from somewhere. And so all this stuff around here, this is basically, this is where the data engineer is working, and he's working here on a data science platform. So yeah, that's the idea behind this. And yeah, so another question, what was there's a question, which is better, natural language processing or CV? I have no idea. I'm not a data scientist. I'm not working with natural language processing and these things. I can't help you with this. You're in the wrong chat. Okay. Something more. What do we have also? Questions from while you might type some more questions. I'm going to look at the questions that came in before the stream. So one question from Hemad was, how do you see cloud as part of role of data engineer or data architect? The cloud, of course, the cloud is a part of data engineering, is a part of data science in general. There's companies who are working a lot with clouds, with AWS, Google, whatever. There are also companies who are working on premises with hardware servers. So the cloud for data engineering is absolutely depends on where the company that you're working or that you look into working is going and has their platforms. The clouds are in general absolutely practical. Clouds are very easy for let's say when you begin in the early phases of a project. Clouds are very good because the scaling is good and you can start cheap. When you start with a on-premises installation, you always have to have a lot of money upfront that you need to pay to have this running. But on the cloud, you can start very cheap, very quick, and scale very good. Although it's expensive at some point, and a lot of stuff that you can do with data science, the cloud is going to be more expensive than on premises. So yeah, that's one thing. Another thing that I want to, what was the other thing? Can you talk about the intersection of data engineering and DevOps? Yes. So if you let's get back to the screen. So data engineering and DevOps, how is this related? If you look at the data science platform, and when you work as a data engineer, what you do is you're going to build, as I said before, you're going to build pipelines. What you're going to do is you have an API and the data comes here and it's stored somewhere in a message queue, and then what you're going to do is you're going to process it and do stuff with it, and then it goes somewhere, and it comes from somewhere or from here, or it goes from an external database into a data flow app, and then directly into a big data store. And these things, these pipelines, you need to build them. They're not they don't exist, and somebody needs to code them. And so it's the job of the data engineer to actually code this stuff and then put it into production and run it. And so you're doing the development. You're also usually doing the operations of it. So you are at some point you're responsible that your code, your pipelines are working, and so you're doing operations for these platforms. Sometimes in larger in smaller ventures, the platform stuff, the running of the tools is also the data engineer's job. Sometimes not. Sometimes there are people. Sometimes you're on platform as a service tools from AWS, or so, from a cloud vendor, or software as a service. And then you don't need to take care that much of tools. But yeah, generally I would say DevOps is a big part of data engineering. Then there was another question. Yeah. One question was, hi Andreas, what about the transition from data scientist to data engineer? I'm a data scientist with strong programming and computer science skills. What would be a good starting point? So that's the first I hear that is really looking to switch from data scientist to data engineer. Most people are thinking you start with data engineering and then you transition into data science because the data scientist is the higher job, the more valuable job, which it isn't. It's just a different job. And a good point would be, if you're already in a job as a data scientist, look at the tools that are used within your platforms, and make yourself familiar with the tools and how to use them, and yeah, take a look at the blueprint and compare it with the stuff that you see at work, that you are working with every day, and then look into the tools that you use there deeply, understand them, and then at some point try to find a job that has less to do with analytics and more into the engineering part of it. So it's not a I mean, you if you're handy in computer science, and if you love computer science like I do, and if you love tools and creating cool solutions, cool platforms, and interesting pipelines, then you will transition there automatically, because you switch from your work from the machine learning, from the analytics, you switch slowly to the platform stuff. And good platform engineers, good platform designers, and data engineers who build the pipelines, and that absolutely makes sense. Because again, let's quickly look at the blueprint. When you design all this, you need to have the data in mind, and you need to understand which is the best way to process this data, or the best tool, which is the best way to store this data, to store it with a good performance, to get it back out with a good performance, because somebody wants to do analytics. Then you decide which tools and create the data structures and so on. So it's a very interesting part, and a very important part, because there's no written path. You need to find this out yourself. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions on this thing? I think, was there another one? Let me just quickly check. Okay. These so far for the questions. So if you're into data science, and if you're into data engineering, check out what I do. Check out the cookbook. I'm going to put a link in the chat after the stream, and this will be on my YouTube channel live as a recording with all the other things. Yeah. Have fun. Thanks for being here, and see you hopefully tomorrow. I'm trying to do this more regularly. Half an hour, and then I'm out of here. Half an hour almost. 28 minutes today. So then, see ya. Same time. I always stream about roughly about 10:30 Germany time, because the kids and the wife are in bed, the wife is going to bed, and then I have some free time. Because this is I'm only doing this as a part-time job. Also, if you like this one, hit the like button on YouTube, hit like on LinkedIn. Check out my Patreon. It's also on my website, andreaskretz.com. Check out my Patreon, Patreon/Plumbers of DS, and you can become a patron and support this channel, support what I do, and it's really appreciated but not needed. Everything is for free. So see you again tomorrow. Bye bye. And now I'm just going to wait a second, because just waving, because when I stop the streaming too early, then the stream is going to cut out.